All right, I'm gonna cover and review my initial thoughts about one of the most popular hypertrophy or muscle building apps that are out there, the Hypertrophy app put out by Renaissance Periodization. Tried recording this earlier, got way too long. I wanna make this as short and as condensed so you guys can make up your mind if you think this is worth it or not and give you guys my honest opinions about this app. Was not sent to me free for review. I have no affiliate codes. I'm certainly welcome to take them though if you guys are watching. And I did pay money for this, okay? So just saying that up front, this thing is very expensive. It is subscription-based, web-based app, so I will talk about that as we go along here, but I want to put that disclaimer right up front. So what this app basically is, it's following Renaissance Periodization, which you guys do not know is probably one of the most popular hypertrophy muscle building sites on YouTube. Very, very popular. Dr. Mike's been around for a long time. I think he really exemplifies the current research of where it stands right now on muscle hypertrophy and muscle building. Much to some people's debate and chagrin, because I know some of you guys on the channel are very into like the lower frequency, high intensity stuff, which I even experimented for fun on this channel. But I would say if you're not into high volume, higher frequency, more body parts per week, this is not gonna be for you. But just realize this is pretty much what the consensus is right now as far as what the science is pointing us. But again, I know some of you guys are up for debate. So if that's you guys, you might not like it. Other aspects about what this is, it is a web-based app, so you're not gonna find this on the Amazon App Store or anything like that. You have to go on the website and actually sign up for it. They give you a few different options. I will talk about the pricing later, but I just wanna flash this on the screen that I will just say right up front. The bonus books that come with here are actually very valuable and I think in some ways needed, especially if you're a beginner, but also kind of help understand the concepts behind, and also background research behind Renaissance Periodization's algorithms that are baked into the app itself. So it is not a glorified workout tracker. Of course, that would not be worth the $300 say per the year to pay for that. You're really paying for, in my opinion, the algorithm, and based upon Dr. Mike and the engineers and the science behind what the current research is saying, because it's going to be evolving here, that's what you're paying for, is the algorithmic changes week to week on, if it isn't too obvious, this periodization model, which periodization model essentially means kind of long-term planning, and we're using different series of mesocycles, or say multiple week planning cycles, that you essentially can pre-select from a template, or you can go ahead and customize your own template. And I will get into that here as well here. But I do want to say the bonus features are valuable. These books are actually very long. They're not just like 5-page ebooks that say they're artificially inflated prices. Very valuable. And then when you do sign up, I really hope it comes with this, but I am not sure, but I think it's almost needed. It comes with a series of videos, and there are 26 videos here. And I'll put screenshots and things like that, but to respect, first off, the time, because this will go way too long, but also just the actual content here, not gonna give you guys stuff that they, you don't paid for, because I don't know if they copyright stuff, whatever. These videos are gonna take some time to go through, and I can imagine if they made changes, they're not gonna make big changes because you have to refilm all this stuff. Dr. Mike does a great job summarizing not just the core concepts behind what's going on here, but really answering, I think, a lot of the common user questions of just using the app itself on, like, say, how to adjust supersets, make supersets, make adjusting exercises. Can you adjust exercises? What's the best exercises to choose? All sorts of program variables that I think he does so. In my opinion, I'm in his camp with this. Very practical way of doing this. So while of course we're using scientific principles, he's also making it very flexible, and he's really focusing on the key things that really matter, which are really consistency, intensity, and kind of progression week to week. A lot of other stuff, this might drive people crazy, the idea of, well, what exercises should I choose? How many exact reps or how many exact sets? Is a lot more open and more flexible in this. So if that is you, you might not necessarily like that. But I just want to preface in the start here, these videos are essentially totally necessary, in my opinion, to just really get to know the app. And again, more importantly, understand the concepts. You guys are totally brand new to this. So transitioning fully here into all the pros that I like about this. Again, this is pretty much initial overview, but I think I got the gist of what this is honestly already. And even if I think the results will come, I'll say that. If you follow this to a T, based on these principles, I have no doubt that you will see progressions. Now, someone like me who's in their 40s, not taking any special substances, natural-based athlete, I'm pretty much at my genetic maximum, give and take with diet and some things. But I think an app like this would definitely force me to kind of dial things down and work through a good periodization model that will keep me on track to see if there's any other gains left in the tank. So I will just say that. I do think this thing will work. So overall pros, I sum this up as saying it is very detailed, oriented as far as how the thing works. It is very much based on the scientific principles that we know right now, but while at the same time it is very simplistic and very practical. So some people might look at this layout and be like, well, this looks not worth like $300. There's not really any graphs and tracking, and that is definitely true. There are other much less expensive apps and workout trackers in the App Store that do essentially this with more metrics and things like that. You can buy Excel spreadsheets, and programmable stuff and templates for like $10. I think Stronger by Science makes one. I just don't like Excel spreadsheets. But if I'm going to use a tracking app, and in the past I didn't mention this, why I didn't previously like tracking things, is my training is kind of all over the place and can be kind of intuitive. So the apps themselves are just not really designed for that, which can kind of be hard because there are so many variables in just resistance training in general that you could do. They do a great job of actually being able to adjust those things and factor that into the actual training cycles while still week to week making those progressions based on what you did. So I really like that and appreciate that. Highly customizable. Again, taking more of a somewhat of intuitive based approach a little bit to your training, which some people might not like. It is designed for, I'd say, intermediate to advanced, because if you don't understand the scientific principles in the background, you might not be able to make the best educated guess, or you might be kind of lost in the weeds here with what is the best option to do. Not to say, of course, you could just pre-program and put one of those templates in there and just plug and play and do that. But if you're like me, once you look at those templates, you're like, that's just not going to fit my goals, lifestyle, the frequency I want to do, the body parts I want to hit, or like the exercises. There are some great things on here. Again, everything's pretty much practical, where if you don't know the exercises, you can literally hit auto-populate and the exercises will just be there for you. And even Mike, an example of this, says this, where like in one of the exercise selection videos, he says that it's not really as important of what exercises you choose, which for some people will just drive them nuts. So my point is, it's loose in that regard. There is a learning curve, but it's fairly user-friendly. So it can do two things. It can hold your hand, just plug and play, do the templates, make your own, and just kind of follow it. Or again, it's very customizable, takes the guesswork and I'd say stress out of training. So for me, if I'm following a template, especially one that is very specific, that's one of the reasons I can kind of fall off using a program, because I've already deviated from something else I prefer. This allows you to still make those deviations and subtle adjustments while still kind of staying on the set program, and allow also you to kind of like benchmark, hit the goals you did for the day, get out and done, versus doing too much work than is necessary. And that's kind of another pro about this program, is that it really emphasizes traditional periodization principles of working up gradual progressions and then having like a deload or like a lower conditioning week. I'm guilty of that. I think I've shared recently where I've never taken a week off. I should. Doesn't mean I've never taken like inherent deloads or just like intuitive deloads, because sometimes I was not really feeling it. Periods in my life where I've been super busy, or like when I was first having my kids, that was a busy time. Training was taking a back burner. I was still training, but not as hard. So it kind of depends where you're at in life. But the point is, this really forces you now to have this plan of gradual periodization with a deload, and actually you're following their long-term cycle. They have a period of actual like just total training cessation for like a week of doing absolutely nothing, which I probably should do. Getting into the cons though, some people will not like this freedom and relative subjectivity, especially of the intensity of RIR's metrics and systems. So some people do not like the RIR intensity variable, where you're putting your reps in and you're going to shoot for this reps in reserves, meaning you're going to get to a rep range that allows you to, let's say if it's 3 RIR, where you still have like 3 left in the tank. Some people can overthink this and be like, well, how do I know when I'm at 3 RIR? Is it really 5, or is it 6, or is it 2? Again, he makes the point of saying it doesn't really matter as long as you're kind of in that mental state of like, this is kind of where I'm at. The next week will make that progression. It will increase the weight and you'll probably be fine. So some people are just not going to like that. If you're somebody who is just really super into logging, and I know people like that, they literally take the craziest detailed notes. I remember working out with a buddy who had a logbook for everything. It was like his workout journal of his life, of everything we did. He was just doing a random workout with me. We're doing all sorts of random things, and he had to pause, writing every single down, the weight and everything. And I'm like, you're never gonna do this workout again. This log is worthless. But he wanted to document everything we did in that workout, from like just the warm-ups we did with the weights. And so if that's you, you might not like that as much. Although you could do that, but I'm not saying you really necessarily might like this as being so loose with its flexibility and what it's doing. It is super expensive. So if you look at how much this thing costs, this is gonna make people mad right away, but people are definitely paying it because he's making a lot of money doing it. And again, more power to him if you want to. Everything is a subscription-based model nowadays. I hate that. There's only subscriptions I pay for is like work-related stuff. Even at my house, like entertainment subscriptions pretty much are nothing other than like Amazon Prime, I think. So I just do not like subscriptions. This is a subscription, so you might not like this. With that being said though, I think the bonus features are worth it. There is a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can, that's if you want to just kind of try it before you buy it, so that's always cool. Again, I think the bonus materials are worth it. Based on what I saw, they're actually good, valuable books in my opinion. I'm not a big like digital reader, I like physical books, but if that doesn't bother you, those are actually awesome. Now getting into like wrapping up here, who do I think is gonna benefit or like this? I think if you are that person who's more intermediate to advanced, you're gonna really appreciate this more, or understand it and digest it more than someone who's a beginner. I think a beginner, you can see gains doing all sorts of different things. You certainly can do the plug and play and be fine with this and do it. But to really have fun with appreciating this app and the simplicity and what you can kind of do to adjust things, and also just building your own template, because I spent way more time than necessary when I first got this, just going through the templates, realizing like I'm just gonna make my own template because this is what I'm gonna stick to. I know my exercise, what I'm doing. And so for me, this is probably of all the different workout tracking apps that I've kind of seen and experimented with, this will be the one honestly that really suits me. And I'm not saying that me and him are on the same cylinder here, but I think a lot of people that are in that level of being in the gym, doing things, you can tell that someone experienced or someone being in the gym that knows kind of the pros and cons and cumbersome nature of just logging things appreciates what's going on here, because that's where I think this is a perfect balance of being simplistic, but also still effective and still based on these scientific principles. If you do find yourself keeping yourself accountable, sticking to a plan where previously you never had a plan and it's nice and neat, organized, you don't like necessarily going in using spreadsheets like I would never like to do, this would make sense for someone like me if I actually end up using it and using it consistently. That's the other thing. The other aspect I found myself thinking about is that once you had these concepts in the back of your head, that again, most of us can maybe already know a little bit, but maybe you're gonna up to date and say some of the science they wanna bake into the algorithm. You could use things like a basic paper and pencil system, and it would be easier in doing it this way. So you can have your template written out, and then you can make adjustments easier with paper and pencil than you could like going on fiddling with an app, you know, making the notes, making adjustments, so that I said before, sometimes the problems with the program is it puts these artificial governors on you. We're like, well, I wanna do a superset, I wanna do something else or a drop set, but you feel like you can't because the app or the tracker won't do it, or it's just not worth doing it, or you end up doing it and then the tracker is kind of worthless because you're not factoring it into the actual tracking system. Versus if you just had a basic paper and pencil and understand this basic progressions or even the system they're using, you might be fine and get kind of the best benefits out of just doing it that way. But that would still take some effort and time. And I think at the end of the day, wrapping this up, I think these type of tracking apps like this is a balance of something where you want a plan, but you don't want to waste tons of time thinking about it in your brain, which that can happen to me, and why sometimes in the past by default I don't follow a program, because it takes the fun out of training and it just makes me think and obsess about something that I think otherwise really the biggest variables, intensity, progression, and being consistent are the most important things. That's my overall thoughts, guys. Trying to make this concise, succinct, but I don't think I failed. I think I kind of might have failed in that. I don't know. If you guys want to see other apps covered in the future, let me know. I got some other ones I might be looking at. Hopefully you guys like this video. If you do, please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.